Today's episode of the Total Soccer Show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Buying tickets can be complicated and confusing, but there's a better way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek saves you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals. Best of all, TSS listeners can get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code TSS today. That's promo code TSS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Now, on with today's Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down weekend review.
Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who offered the US Soccer Federation $501 million if they'd only change the name to the Taylor Rockwell Federation. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I wouldn't do that because that seems slightly more believable and actually actionable than what was offered.
So we're going to start with, it's our thumbs up, thumbs down review. I don't know what to do with my thumbs. For the news I read this morning, Rocco Commisso has said he will put in $500 million, well, $250 of his own, he'll find another $250 from friends, basically, rich friends, to the NASL if US Soccer will sort of guarantee they'll just let NASL do what they want for 10 years. That's roughly the deal, right?
I mean, yeah, that's a way of putting it, yes. But yeah, that is roughly it, amongst other things in there as well. Yeah, I would say angry/frustrated exhale thumbs. Can I do that? Is that a thing that happens?
If your thumbs can exhale.
I mean, maybe they can. You don't know. Yeah, that's about my reaction to that news.
My feeling is it's not worth going into too much detail on this. Read the Graham Parker story in The Guardian, because that's where the letters were leaked, basically.
Yeah. Leaked is a strong term.
With the correspondence between Commisso and US Soccer. But this isn't going to happen, is it? You can tell by the tone of the letters that Commisso kind of knows that this isn't an offer that US Soccer will accept, and US Soccer basically don't seem to be taking it seriously.
I mean, it's a strong enough offer that it will turn people's heads to say $500 million was offered to US Soccer and they turned it down.
Get people talking about it, get podcasters talking about it.
Well, or not even. Or just getting, that's the clickable link. If you're just scrolling through Reddit, if you're scrolling through Twitter, you'll see NASL offers US Soccer $500 million in let us exist plea or something, and you'll just take that and you won't read the details, which is let us do our thing for 10 years, but also fundamentally change your structure and get rid of people that we feel are anti-NASL or too pro-MLS or what have you.
It is worth saying, though, some of the things he's asking for, I think might be a good idea, maybe untangling the US Soccer, Major League Soccer, intertwinedness that is happening, maybe make them more independent. But I don't think the way to achieve that is to sort of essentially offer a bribe, right? Here's $500 million if you'll stop doing that. I don't think that's the way that relationship is going to be sort of disentangled.
Yeah, I would say we try to avoid cursing. We try to be a family-friendly show. I'll just say, to paraphrase the dude talking to Walter Sobchak, you're not wrong, Rocco. You're just a jerk. And I feel like that's part of it. Is he's not wrong to want these things to change. But it is sort of the way he goes about it, the veiled threats, the fact that he said, if I don't hear back from you or what have you, then these letters will be released on April 27th, and that's when they were sent to The Guardian. So it just feels like publicly airing correspondence isn't the best way to go.
Yep.
And I do think at the end of it, that factors into US Soccer, that they don't want it to be perceived as Rocco Commisso got us to do something. He forced our hand. Even if that's petty, even if that holds US Soccer back, I kind of understand why they wouldn't want that. They don't want this loudmouth guy saying, I brought them to their knees. If they want to bring about change, they want to bring it about on their own timetable.
I will say this, though. At least Rocco Commisso has good taste in English newspapers.
That's true. That is true.
So that news broke this morning.
Yep.
There's a whole load of soccer happened over the weekend.
It did.
And we are going to give our thumbs up, thumbs down review. This is really quick hits, what we saw, what caught our eye this weekend. I'm going to invite you to go first, Taylor Rockwell Federation.
I appreciate that. And I just want to preface with, I don't mean this as an insult, even though it's going to come across as one.
Where are we going?
But I'm going to say thumbs up to Arsene Wenger for not being a pre-haircut haircut. Because have you ever noticed when you make an appointment to get your haircut, right before you go, if you look at yourself in the mirror, you'll be like, well, actually, my hair it looks fine. I don't know if I need a hair. And you're second guessing that decision. Arsene Wenger.
I don't do that because I always wait till it's absolutely desperate.
I see. Okay. But in this case, Arsene Wenger is not being the haircut that's making you think, oh, maybe it is actually kind of good. He's just kind of doing the same thing, and it really was representative, losing 2-1 to Manchester United at Old Trafford in the 91st minute on a Marouane Fellaini header. It just feels very representative of the way the season has gone.
I've got some sympathy for Wenger in this game, though, because, you can read this as, Arsenal lose to Man United again, it's time to go. But he is resting players ready for the Europa League semi-final second leg against Atletico. He played the kids, right? Like Maitland-Niles got a full run out in midfield. So at least he's playing the kids.
But I don't even mean like, he lost to Manchester United again. But just exactly what you just said. It was playing youngsters in the Premier League, then getting a goal, making it seem like, they're actually maybe going to get a result here, and then you lose to Route 1 Soccer courtesy of Marouane Fellaini.
Yes.
It just felt very representative
Fellaini.
of things, yes.
I imagine Wenger has nightmares about the likes of Marouane Fellaini.
I mean, I would say so.
I would also say in this game...
He's going to be available on a free. Sign him up wherever you end up. There you go.
In this game, thumbs down to Alex Ferguson for recreating the ending of 7 before this game. Because I'm pretty sure
him a box.
He gave Wenger a box, and Wenger said, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" And spoiler alert for a movie from the 90s. Alex Ferguson said, "It's Robin van Persie's head."
You worked a while on that one, didn't you?
A couple of minutes. So
he gave him a trophy in a box, and you immediately went to Gwyneth Paltrow. That's what happened there?
I tried not to give the spoiler. But I kind of think the Robin van Persie transfer represents the sort of the change of the power dynamic in English football. Van Persie was sort of like, I'm not winning anything here. I think I'm going to go over there.
Yeah. I mean, and that was also clearly Ferguson being like, I am going to retire at the end of the season. I want one player to really push it over the top. So I'm going to go out by taking your best player and winning the title. Not quite the thing that Arsene Wenger is going to be doing.
It's ruthless, right? That's ruthless compared to what Wenger did in his last season.
But seriously,
thumbs up to Fergie for the gesture. It was a very classy gesture.
But I do want to say, I'd like to bring it full circle with this point at least, that I really don't mean that as like twisting the knife anymore for Arsenal fans, because I do think that if it's a long-serving manager who you've had happy memories with but is now maybe past it, you don't want that sort of like, but he won 5 and 5 and like, maybe you are being premature. To have it be like,
he's not
no,
the
this is kind of,
haircut.
It is kind of continuing on. Maybe this is the best for all parties involved.
Time to chop it all off.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, elsewhere in this game, can I say thumbs up to Paul Pogba? Because Paul Pogba is on it in terms of doing that thing now where he drives at the defence, plays it wide, sprints in the box, and even if there ends up being an Alexis Sanchez goalkeeper rebound, he ends up scoring. Yeah. I think we've found what Paul Pogba is great at, and it's exactly what I just described. Do you see him skip around that Granit Xhaka tackle and then essentially out-maneuver and out-muscle, I think it was Maitland-Niles. He does that, Pogba does that thing where he uses his body very well. We talked about it last week where he doesn't use his arms, he just positions himself correctly, so there's no way around him.
Hips,
he did that to Maitland-Niles, then out wide, in the box, goal. Paul Pogba. Yes.
There you go.
All right.
Anything else from this game?
Not from this game, but I've got plenty from the Premier League.
All right, what you got?
I've got a thumbs up to Alex McCarthy, Southampton goalkeeper, for the save that might reignite Southampton's survival chances. Have you seen this save?
I have, and I also would have you know that our friend Pav is not pleased with you right now.
Why is that?
Because if you're talking about Southampton staying up and finding a way to come back, there are two teams who are possibly going to take their place in the relegation zone, Huddersfield being one of them.
Well, if you're going to take it up with someone from the West Midlands, take it up with Sam Allardyce when his Everton team beat Huddersfield this weekend.
In a series of text messages, Pop did just that this weekend, so yes.
I want to focus on this McCarthy save. Sure. So it's 2-1 to Southampton. It's towards the end of the game. Tadic has scored twice, 2 very nice goals. There's a shot from Ryan Fraser. It's deflected off Coates, I believe. And Alex McCarthy is kind of diving to McCarthy's own left. He's got an outstretched hand, but then the ball redirects. And it would have beaten him, but he does that sort of weird trailing hand up and over, just get there in time save to keep it 2-1 Southampton.
There we go.
They are now what? How many points? They're 1 point behind Swansea, 3 behind Huddersfield with 2 games to go. Southampton are away to Everton next Saturday. It's kind of a winnable-ish game, right, for some teams. And then Swansea-Southampton is Tuesday, May 5th. That is the game, Swansea versus Southampton. That's the relegation dogfight we've been looking for. And it didn't look like it wasn't going to happen, right? It looks like there was going to be no relegation fight. I think Alex McCarthy has made it happen. Also Dusan Tadic.
I think that's a decent shout, also because I believe Huddersfield play all of the best teams in England.
It's Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City.
Yikes.
Yep.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's rough.
But good luck, guys.
Speaking of staying up, thumbs up to Crystal Palace for staying up in style.
Okay.
So they're not mathematically safe. I think they're 6 points clear with 2 or 3 games to go. But they're 11th, right? So it's very, very, very unlikely that they can possibly go down. And they made this happen with a 5-0 win over Leicester City. Have you seen highlights of this game?
No.
Treat yourself.
Okay.
It features James McCarthy back heels, defence splitting passes from Wilfried Zaha, bursts forward from Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and a goal, a nice calm finish from Ruben Loftus-Cheek. They look like a sort of, at least in these highlights, they look like a title-winning team. So it's really nice to see, again, in a relegation dogfight.
And that's exactly what you want to look like when you are still theoretically in the relegation zone.
But to win 5-0 and do it in this really stylish way, normally they're sort of like scrappy 2-1 wins like Southampton, you know what I'm saying? So thumbs up to Crystal Palace.
All right.
Uncle Roy's got them playing good stuff.
Sure. For the end of this season, and then maybe 2 weeks next season. Yes. That makes sense.
Anything else from the Premier League?
Yeah, I've got I don't even know what to make of this one. I'm going to say thumbs confused for the situation at Liverpool. Have you been following this one today? Essentially...
Something happened today?
Yeah, or last night today. Zeljko Buvac, who's Jurgen Klopp's longtime number 2, I think they've worked together for 17 years, alternate reports that he has either left the club as of today, no longer working there.
Yeah.
Or James Pearce on Twitter says Liverpool insist that Buvac has not quit as Klopp's number 2, but will be absent for the rest of the season due to personal reasons. I think Rafa Honigstein wrote a little bit about this, about how they have a very contentious relationship, do Buvac and Klopp, how they kind of at times don't speak, can be very direct with each other. And so I just find the timing very concerning if you're a Liverpool fan, because you're heading into, I would say, the most important game of this season, and suddenly the longtime number 2 is no longer going to be there for whatever reason. It just seems like something is a little bit off at Liverpool, and that's something that they will have to deal with very quickly.
So I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to assume it's one of those contentious relationships that's always kind of at breaking point, and maybe it hit it.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so...
Let's hope for a reunion.
Yeah. Well, by what I read from what I've heard, that seems very unlikely, but it also seems likely that this won't have an immediate impact necessarily, because the players kind of know what's expected of them.
Yeah.
It will just be a person who's usually there isn't there, and whether that impacts the psyche at all. But going forward, maybe you're going to have to look at who he brings in to replace Buvac, if indeed Buvac has left. All right,
we'll be covering Roma-Liverpool, the second leg this week.
And my final thing from England before we move to the continent or further abroad,
the continent.
I'm going to say that sad thumbs down to Chris Coleman, because this has not gone the way we expected it would.
Sunderland?
Has been sacked. He's been
Sunderland
clearing their debts, new ownership coming in.
I saw that. Elliot Short sold up, right?
And they basically do not want the current manager there anymore. I think that clears a decent amount of money off the books to get rid of him. He had said he would take
We don't have to pay him up.
I think he said he would take a pay cut. Yeah, but the current owner can pay him off, and then the new ownership coming in doesn't have to worry about it. So
yeah, the thing I read is essentially Elliot Short, even though his spell of owning Sunderland has not been glorious for Sunderland, he did take the club when it had debts, and he's leaving them debt free, and in that way,
he himself is, I think, paying off a lot of that debt, or taking that debt onto himself.
So I think that's actually quite noble to almost admit that, okay, I'm bad at running the club, but at least I'll leave it in good shape for someone else to run it.
But it still feels bad for Chris Coleman. Obviously, if he had done a better job or had gotten some more results, had not gotten relegated to League One, then he probably wouldn't be getting fired right now. But it's still just for a manager who's in the Euro semifinals to then look around, have all these opportunities, and say, Sunderland, that's where I want to go. And now here we are. It'll be interesting to see where he pops up next.
I would argue that given the number of coaches that have failed at Sunderland over the years, it can't all be all their fault.
But those are managers who failed at Sunderland in the Premier League. And then usually somebody else came in and saved them. So to be the manager who not only came in and didn't save them, but didn't save them in the Championship and got them relegated to League One, that might stick with him a little bit longer.
Man, a lot can change in 2 years.
That's how it goes.
All right, to the continent,
sure.
As you said. I'd like to go to La Liga. I'd like to give a thumbs up to Leo Messi, the underrated Leo Messi.
The underrated Leo Messi.
Here's why.
Barcelona, I would love to know why.
Barcelona won the league this weekend with a Leo Messi hat-trick, and it kind of had this feeling of, oh yeah, that's about normal.
But see, that's not underrated. That's properly rated.
I guess.
That's Leo Messi.
But we're not excited enough about it, I guess. Like any other player scoring a hat-trick to win the league, it should be this glorious thing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas it's business as usual for Leo Messi. So Barcelona beat Deportivo La Coruña 4-2 on a Leo Messi hat-trick.
See, this feels like one of those Chuck Klosterman things, though, where you can have underrated or overrated, and no one ever talks about people who are properly rated. Like his joke in there is the Beatles are properly rated as the best rock band of all time because they did so much. And I would say Leo Messi properly rated as one of the best footballers of all time. There you go.
I think that's fair. But I'm saying if there's another player scored a hat trick to win the league, there would be sort of long stories about that player.
Yes,
you get what I'm saying?
I do.
And best of all, if you watch these goals, it includes the classic Leo Messi goal. This is the goal to put Barca ahead. It was 2-2 at the time. It includes a Leo Messi cut back in the area. Then 3 players converge on him in the area. He dribbles backwards out of pressure but keeps the ball. Spots his buddy, Luis Suarez. Very quick 1-2. A 1-2 so fast he loses all 3 players. Ends up with Leo Messi just one-on-one with the keeper, slots it into the side netting. The classic Leo Messi Barcelona goal.
We call Luis Suarez the Uruguayan Firmino.
Uruguayan Firmino, okay.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Why do we do that?
Just because I feel like I tend to find them very similar. And I think I've heard people refer to Firmino as the Brazilian Luis Suarez.
I see.
A less bitey one, but still.
Can we also say thumbs up to the Deportivo La Coruña fans?
Sure.
Because they were getting relegated. Andres Iniesta subs on for Barcelona as part of his sort of long goodbye tour, gets an ovation from the Deportivo fans. Even from the depths of despair as they're being relegated, they take the time to applaud the man that won Spain the World Cup.
Except for one guy in the crowd who looked suspiciously like Sergio Ramos, who told everybody not to applaud. Is that a thing that happened? Yeah. Yes. Because he came out strong in the Champions League pre-match press conference to say we are not doing the Guard of Honor for Barcelona.
Is that right?
So they will not be.
Because they do the Clásicos next week, right?
Yeah.
Oh. I did also read, though, Sergio Ramos, in part of the Iniesta tributes, Ramos talked about how you kick everybody. It doesn't matter. Like, to shut people down, what you do is you kick them, except Sergio Ramos, because he's Andres Iniesta. Sorry, except Andres Iniesta.
Thank you.
Because he's Andres Iniesta.
What? Sergio Ramos doesn't kick himself? All right, that's good.
Those are the 2 people he doesn't kick.
Yeah.
Sergio Ramos and Andres Iniesta.
That is one thing that I think I would know less about, maybe because we don't watch as much La Liga, but it does seem like there's not been a lot of conversation about Iniesta's farewell. I think we talked about this last week, that it hasn't been sort of officially stated that this is his last season. There's just been a lot of seems like he's not going to sign. He isn't signing. Seems like he's going to China.
There was a press conference this weekend where he said this is the end of it.
Yeah, and so I think because of that, that comes after Arsene Wenger saying this is his farewell. It hasn't felt like quite the I definitely need to watch more Barcelona games at the end of the season just to make sure I get to enjoy Iniesta one last time.
Yeah, well, if you watch some Chinese Super League next year.
Yeah, there's that.
Unless an MLS team puts a bid in. Go on, MLS.
He's going to China.
I'd love to see him in Major League Soccer. All right. What else you got?
I've got thumbs down to Max Meyer. Not a great situation there
what's he
as
doing?
well. Lots. So essentially, he came out today feuding public statements. Max Meyer has said he is never playing for Schalke ever again, that he is done with the club.
Yeah.
FC Schalke have said that Max Meyer is suspended for the rest of the season. He will never play for the club again.
So his contract runs out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And basically, the abbreviated history, which Unbeschaft is a Reddit user, did a very good breakdown of what's happened. But essentially, Meyer had 2 unsuccessful seasons at Schalke as a number 10. Tedesco moved him back to a number 6.
Yeah.
It went very well.
Yeah.
So initially, I think last summer, he was linked to the move to Tottenham. Didn't happen. Number 6 move worked very well for him. This January, he was training with the club in Spain, was offered a new contract, said he was very, very happy, said he would decide on the contract in a few weeks. Then nothing happened. Now all of these reports have come out from his agent saying, the club never contacted us. They sent us a couple emails trying to schedule something, but it didn't feel like they were being respectful of us. The club responded with, we straight up offered you 5.5 million euros a year to stay here. You didn't respond to that offer, or you said it wasn't enough. So it seems like they're kind of feuding, and it's gone from the kind of usual, a bigger club has come in, so he wants to move. There's not much we can do about it. We're not happy. In this situation, it seems like it's much more no, we do not like this guy, and we don't want him affiliated with the club anymore.
Wow.
And it does not seem like it's going to end well for him.
So Max Meyer on the way out, Leon Goretzka on the way out. This leaves lots of room in midfield for Mr. Weston McKennie.
Yeah.
Right? So room for Weston McKennie and room for just loads of other Americans coming through at Schalke. I say more people should get themselves banned and on a plane elsewhere from Schalke.
Yeah, I mean
the more room in the team, the better, right?
Yeah, and
we'll get Zian Jones and
as long as they don't then
Wright and
agitate for a move, yeah, that's fine with me. But I would say if you're wondering why I'm putting this on Max Meyer, it just feels like he is trying to make an argument for why things aren't good. He says he's been bullied by Tedesco and the management at Schalke. So, for example, last week he wasn't included in Schalke's squad because he suffered an injury in training. He then, after the game, said, "Oh no, I wasn't injured at all," even though like the medical team said, like, "Yes, we diagnosed you with an injury." So make of that what you will. But it just feels a little bit like he is trying to find ways to justify, like, "See, I've been mistreated, so I deserve a move."
So any rumors like as to where he will end up next season?
I don't know. I mean, as you said, his
not
contract
by Munich.
expires.
He's not by Munich level,
yeah.
right? So where possibly?
We shall see. We shall see.
Wolverhampton Wanderers. Before we move on, today's show...
He's not Portuguese enough.
He could learn it. Before we move on, today's show is sponsored by SeatGeek. Buying tickets can be complicated and confusing, but there is a better way to buy tickets. That way is SeatGeek.
Indeed. It's a great way to, as I've said before, to look to see what's coming to town, if there's any acts or comedians or sports spectacles that you want to see.
Sports spectacles.
In this case, you can also use it, as I did, to look for tickets to hard-to-access events. One that I don't think I'll end up attending, but I did see if SeatGeek had tickets, and they do, is the Capitals-Penguins playoff series. The hockey playoffs are currently ongoing. Series tied at 1-1, which means Game 5 will certainly, as will be 3 and 4 in Washington.
I assumed the Caps were out.
Nope.
Weren't they really struggling at one point?
It's kind of what they do. And then they get everybody excited, and then they spectacularly fall apart in the playoffs.
Well, we've had listeners who have used SeatGeek taking advantage of the $20 discount you can get by using the TSS discount code. Tyler Smith emailed us to say that he used SeatGeek to get tickets to see Columbus Crew at MapFrey Stadium. He saw them beat San Jose 2-1 this weekend. And we also had an email from Danny Glover, not that one, who used... I'm pretty sure he wasn't verified, so I don't think it's that Danny Glover. Who got tickets to see Justin Timberlake for Mother's Day.
Danny Glover's very humble. Yeah, maybe he doesn't need a blue check mark.
that may be it. So if our listeners or other listeners would like to get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase, you download the SeatGeek app, you enter the promo code. Can you remember what it is, Taylor? TSS. Enter the promo code TSS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
I'm pretty happy with the multitasking that just happened there, because I was still able to hear you ask that question and respond successfully while loving the idea of Danny Glover buying Justin Timberlake tickets for his mother.
You should be able to get them for free, right?
Well, you would think so, but just also like I love the idea of Danny Glover, the actor's mother, being like, "I want to go see Justin Timberlake for Mother's Day. Let's make it happen." I
imagine Danny Glover in the audience going, "I'm too old for this."
Hey, we censored it again. Good job.
Deleted. All right.
The TBS version of that.
Would you like to come to Italy with me, Taylor?
Sure.
I want to give a thumbs down to VAR for getting Kalidou Koulibaly sent off for Napoli versus Fiorentina and once again ruining the Serie A title race.
Could we make the argument that Kalidou Koulibaly got himself sent off?
Kind of.
Okay.
All right, so here's the backstory. Just last weekend, Koulibaly
times change.
Scored a late winner for Napoli against Juventus, and the Serie A title race, there's only 1 point in it after that, right? Juve were just 1 point clear of Napoli. This weekend, 5 minutes into Napoli's away game against Fiorentina, Koulibaly fouls Gio Simeone. What he's doing is he's trying to clear... there's a ball through... Koulibaly's there. He tries to swing and clear it. He ends up just kicking Simeone, essentially. Referee gives a penalty kick 5 minutes in. You think this was bad, but when there's a penalty kick, you can't do the double jeopardy thing, so it's not a red card, right? So there's a penalty and a yellow. Then it went to VAR, and they said, it was just outside the area. So it's actually just a free kick, not a penalty. But because it's not a penalty, it is a red card. So they lose Koulibaly 5 minutes in. Napoli go on to lose 3-0. Gio Simeone gets a hat-trick. I think we'll talk about that later in the scouting network.
So, quick question there. Is that officially a thing now that you can't get a red and a penalty?
I believe so. I think it's guidelines for refs. I'm not 100% sure what the sort of language is that directs that.
Yeah. Because that was one thing. Maybe you and I were talking about this, or maybe I was listening to somebody else when you mentioned the guidelines thing. That you have like the rules of the game that are very ironclad. They are what they are.
The laws of the game. That's how ironclad they are.
There we go. But then you also get directives sent out that are like, we want to emphasize this, or and
they vary by federation and league.
And so I'm always curious with those if there are those sort of stipulations for like, never mind, no more reds in that situation, because I have to imagine like serious foul play. If you're trying to injure somebody and you also happen to concede a penalty, you're probably getting both in that moment. But who knows?
Well, this would have been for denial of goal scoring opportunity.
Yeah, in that dog sound, if you will.
Yeah, dog sound. Yeah. Would you agree with me that it is better to concede a penalty in the fifth minute and have 11 men for the rest of the game than concede a free kick and have 10 men for the rest of the game? This was, again, in the fifth minute.
Yeah. I mean, because you got 85 minutes to figure it out, and that could have just been a one-off situation. You kind of bunker down, you refocus. Maybe you let them score one more, and then they're up by 2, and we all know that's the most dangerous lead.
Well, here's a strong statement. If you've seen these Fiorentina goals, every single one of them, you imagine Koulibaly could have helped prevent them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of weak defending in the next 3 goals. Koulibaly, not a weak defender.
Not a weak defender, but a suspended defender. And as you said, it is sort of like from what a difference a week makes. Because I remember this time last week, there was a lot of people who are far more knowledgeable than we are saying, this feels like it's going that way. This feels like that Leicester title run. It feels like things are aligning and it's going to happen. Not so much anymore.
Then VAR.
Yep.
Then VAR. I mean, VAR was correct, but it ruined the narrative. What makes it worse is thumbs up to Gonzalo Higuain for one of the calmest match winners I've ever seen. He scored the winning goal in Juve's 3-2 come-from-behind win over Inter in the Derby della Italia, I believe
that's correct,
is what it's called. It's Higuain with a header. I don't know the minute, but it's late in the game. It's an Higuain header from a Dybala free kick. He doesn't even jump. Higuain just tracks where this bending ball is going to land, and he gets to the spot where it's landing, and he heads it home past Handanovic, I believe.
Samir.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and dub Gonzalo Higuain the Argentinian Rodney Dangerfield. You good with that one?
Because he can't get no respect.
There it is.
Yes.
It does feel that way, right? That like even if he scores that winner, even if that ends up being the game that really decides it and puts the title out of reach, it's still going to be the response of, well, when's he going to score for Argentina?
Because he also missed a couple in this game. But
of course he did.
There's always that narrative of him missing the big chances, right? So it's worth underlining it when Higuain scores the winner in the Derby della Italia, it may be the goal that wins Juventus the league this season. From the same game, thumbs down to Matthias Vecino for performing amateur surgery on Mario Mandzukic's ankle.
Does that mean aggressive studded tackles?
And there was a photo afterwards of Mandzukic's ankle. He didn't even close the wound afterwards.
Ow.
It was nasty. It's a nasty looking cut.
Wait, what do you mean he didn't even close the wound?
I mean, as a surgeon. He just opened the wound.
I see. I thought you meant
and then walked away.
Like Mandzukic's just walking around with an open wound. I was like, that's not good. What is good, if you're a Galatasaray fan, Galatasaray's 2-0 victory over Beşiktaş in the Turkish Super League leaves them 1 point ahead of Istanbul BB with, I think, 4 games to play.
4 games to play?
No, it might be even fewer than that. It might be 2 games to play. I think they're a 34-game season. I think they've all played 31 now, so 2 or 3 left.
So who should we be supporting in the Turkish Super League? Because Galatasaray seems like the power club.
Who should we be supporting, or who am I supporting?
Who are you? Oh, there's a Galatasaray scarf on the wall.
I mean, that is my preferred club, which is maybe one of the reasons to mention it. The way I had always had it explained to me, make of this what you will. I can't speak to Istanbul BB because they're a relatively new power in Turkey, but it was Galatasaray are the giant Turkish club that buy Turkish players. Fenerbahce are the giant Turkish club that buy foreign players. Beşiktaş are the club that if you ask every taxi driver and street cleaner, they support Beşiktaş. So they're the blue-collar team, but all of them have very well-known European stars or well-known European players playing for them now.
And Istanbul BB are Erdogan's team?
I think that's them. It's like them or Kasım Pasha. Those are the two that I think he leans towards. But they definitely have.
So if you support authoritarianism, then you should support that too.
That too. Why not? I think I forget what it was. If he had a small ownership stake that he sold off before he went into politics with Istanbul BB. But Kasım Pasha are the one that either their stadium or one of the gates is called the Erdogan Stadium or Erdogan Gate. Yeah. You can avoid those two. Yeah, that's fine.
Can we come back to the United States?
Sure.
Thumbs up to Stefan Fry for getting LAFC a housewarming gift.
Oh, yes. Okay. It took me a minute. I've got thumbs down to Stefan Fry for failing to save Laurent Simon's free kick winner and thus launching 1,000 conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories?
Just about, see, the league wants LAFC to win. They want new clubs to get their... new clubs always win at home. They always get their chance.
This didn't happen. You imagine you're creating a conspiracy theory out of whole cloth, right?
I think people like to believe that certain clubs are giving preference.
Oh.
But no, I don't actually believe that.
I like to think Stefan Fry went to the store, couldn't get wine, kind of like in Seinfeld. They sold out of the cake that he was after, just like in Seinfeld. The Marble Rye. Yeah. So no, it wasn't Marble Rye because it was that's a different episode.
Okay.
But, yeah, it was the Babka. Chocolate babka.
This is very important that we get
That's
to
what
the
it
bottom
was.
of this.
Anyway, they sold out of all that, so the only thing you could get them was a mistake right in the 93rd minute.
He sure did that.
Oh, but it was kind of a good free kick from Laurent Simon. It just had that weird Ronaldo knuckly thing where it moved slightly in the air. Fry just tried to, I think, scoop it into his arms, and it kind of bounced on his forearms, kind of like a volleyball player instead.
Yeah,
we're laughing, but I feel terrible for Stefan Fry.
It's a pretty bad one. And it is... I know also LAFC fans won't care because they won, and Laurent Simon won't care because he scored the winner. But it is still, that's not the picturesque, beautiful first goal that you want from that stadium. But maybe that's what it will be. Maybe that will be the narrative, is they somehow managed to get goals when they never seemed possible. That would be the narrative of Bank of California Stadium.
I did see, I didn't see this personally, but I read a couple of reports on Twitter that Christian Roldan was first over to his Seattle teammate just to put an arm around Stefan Fry, and the whole team was around there afterwards consoling him. So I think if you're a Seattle fan and you're sort of down in the dumps a little bit after that, at least be sort of consoled by the team spirit and compassion that Seattle Sounders show for each other.
And also, it's a long season.
It is.
You got time.
You got time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think they're bottom of the West right now, though.
Not ideal. Anything else?
From MLS?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Or from anywhere.
I've got... Actually, how about this one? This is going to be controversial. You ready? Thumbs down from a concerned foreigner, me, about anyone who cares about Eastern Conference versus Western Conference. So... this weekend, the Eastern Conference teams went 5-0 against the Western Conference teams. And I've seen a lot of celebrating by Eastern Conference teams as if this mattered, as if this was a real thing. And it seems to me that these aren't actually separate organizations, right? It's just geography, and it doesn't matter that the East is better than the West. It does for 1 week. This is not a thing to celebrate. This is my dad can beat up your dad
Biggie
thing.
and Tupac would like a word with you.
What? I mean, yes, in that situation, there's a real rivalry, right? But Eastern Conference, Western Conference in Major League Soccer, there's not an actual rivalry.
There's a lot of rivalry between the East and the West, I would
there?
say. Yeah, I mean, I would say not in the sense that,
It's the opposite of a local rivalry.
But I don't necessarily mean in terms of soccer. I mean that you always hear East Coast, West Coast, West Coast, Best Coast. You hear those...
Oh, so it's beyond soccer and it's more about, the culture wars between East and West.
Yes, but then when you're throwing,
not the Ann-Coulter type
when you're throwing,
wars,
Kansas and Houston in there, I think that's a little bit more confusing when then it's East Coast, West Coast. I don't know. It's a little bit more... That tends to be, very much East Coast and West Coast is that rivalry.
Right, so New York and LA.
Yeah, basically. Briars versus Dryers, that sort of thing.
Speaking of New York and LA, thumbs up to Bradley Wright Phillips, who is becoming an assist machine. So in the Red Bulls 3-2 win over the LA Galaxy, BWP did not get on the score sheet, but he had 2 great assists. The first to Roya, the second to, I believe, Valo. The first one to Roya, if you haven't seen it, it is a beautiful square pass through LA Galaxy traffic to Roya at the far post. He now has 4 assists so far this season. He's on track to sort of break his own record of 7 assists, which, it's kind of an okay record, but I can see him having one of those seasons where he maybe hits double digits in assists.
Yeah, and I think it's important because to vary it up so it's not just always Bradley Wright Phillips trying to make something happen, trying to score the goals himself. The fact that he can have a happy partner in Royer who went sprinting over to him to celebrate. It seems like that's a pretty strong one. I thought it was interesting, though, that you have BWP maybe reinventing himself as the assist getter, and then you've got Sean Wright Phillips controversially is now doing all VAR for New York Red Bulls games. Did you know that? That was a claim that I heard somewhere.
Yeah, so LA Galaxy players and fans not happy with VAR decisions.
That wasn't really Sean Wright Phillips, by the way.
I know,
that was a joke.
I know. But the 2 decisions that went against the LA Galaxy, you've got to say, were 100% correct, right?
I mean, from what I saw.
Ola Kamara was offside on that pass from Gio dos Santos that ends with Alessandrini has it in the net. He was offside. Ola Kamara was offside. VAR correctly called it back. And the Romney handball from the Kamal Lawrence cross that leads to the Kaku penalty, It's a handball. You can't slide with your arms in the air, and if you do, the ball hits your arm in the air.
Yeah.
It's a penalty.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Galaxy fans. That just is how it is.
I think there's like a little bit of an element of the Tim Howard thing from last week or 2 weeks ago where it's like, does it like really cleanly hit the arm? Is it like chest and then arm?
Is the answer.
But the answer is it's the underside of his left arm, which is up like above his head as he's sliding. He's got them in an unnatural position. It does block a cross into the box that could have resulted in a scoring opportunity. So, yeah, in my opinion, it's a penalty.
And my brief analysis of this is that he thinks Kamal Lawrence is going to the end line and driving it in low, right? So Romney's like sliding towards the end line, doesn't realise that Lawrence is going to cut it back and kind of chip it, and that's why it goes into his arm, which is trailing. It's actually kind of like an Alex McCarthy save.
There you go.
But you weren't supposed to be doing it.
Not so much.
So New York beat the LA Galaxy 3-2.
That they did.
Final thumbs down I've got for Major League Soccer and to soccer in general. Thumbs down to the rule that you get a yellow card for taking your jersey off when you celebrate.
I agree.
So Christian Teixeira scored a penalty, I believe, for Vancouver Whitecaps in their 2-0 win over RSL. It was the opening goal. It was quite late in the game. He'd already been booked. Took his jersey off to celebrate. I think he'd forgotten that he already had the first yellow. Gets a second yellow and he's sent off. And the more you think about this rule, I know this is an old conversation, but the more you think about this rule, the more it just doesn't feel right to limit the celebrations that a player can do.
This feels like one that should be legal at professional level, but should be a yellow card offense at amateur level. That's where I am with it. Because I don't need in our CVSA whatever division, if a guy scores a goal, for him to go running off with a shirt around his head, like aggressively celebrating. Like, it's amateur soccer. Let's just cheer with your teammates.
But if I did that, I'd like to be able to do that. Right? Like, who am I hurting by not doing that? Who am I hurting by doing that?
Our delicate sensibilities. I don't need to see your areolas, Daryl Grove.
You've seen my areolas before.
That's weird. But no, I think if I were to guess, I think a part of it is probably that FIFA don't like anything that they're not in control of, and they don't like people taking off undershirts to maybe have a sponsorship, maybe have a personal message, maybe have a political message.
Or maybe to not be showing the shirt sponsor during the jersey celebration.
Also that. That's probably part of it.
You could build 10 conspiracy reasons why FIFA don't want this, but ultimately I don't think it does any harm.
No, I mean, I don't think it does either. I mean, I think there's lots of other stuff that you probably need to deal with before you really worry about policing whether or not a player is taking his or her shirt off. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
But I guess you've also got to say thumbs down to Christian Teixeira. Remember that you've got a yellow card. Don't risk it.
Yeah, and also, like, it's probably one of those moments where you think, like, oh, that doesn't apply, though. Like, come on, I just scored, like, there's no yellow card for this. Like, of course there is.
If it's one of those things where, like, there's, like, mandatory minimum sentences and stuff, where even if the ref is thinking, I should let this slide, he kind of has to give the yellow, right? Because it's the rules. I don't think there's any freedom for the referee to interpret it how he wants to.
I have strong feelings on mandatory minimums. So, should we talk about something else?
Let's talk about Tobin Heath.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
A logical segue.
Thumbs up to Tobin Heath's upper class chip and celebration.
Yeah.
Have you seen this goal? So it's Portland Thorns are 1-0 down to the Utah Royals. Tobin Heath, she anticipates Portland's press is coming. You can see her sort of getting herself ready, like, oh, this ball's popping loose and it's coming my way. Teammate Christine Sinclair gives her the ball. She chips it over the keeper and then she does this celebration. I'm just gonna do it for you, Taylor, so that you can see it. She walks around holding her shirt like this. And then she does the arm in front, arm behind, classy bow as her celebration. It just made me think, oh, I miss watching Tobin Heath score goals because she is delightfully weird.
Who?
Tobin Heath.
Who?
Tobinia.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Any more thumbs up, thumbs down before we move on to the TSS Scouting Network?
That's all I got, buddy.
There we go, my friend.
That's all I saw this weekend.
But we've got several scouting reports to get to, starting with Chris Fujimoto scouting Jonathan Amon, the 19-year-old American left winger for Nordsjælland.
He's back!
Let's go! With an exclamation point, says Chris. Jonathan Amon started, played 71 minutes, and scored in the 16th minute for FC Nordsjælland in their 3-1 loss to league leaders FC Brøndby. Amon pestered a defender into giving up the ball and then showed speed and good ability to finish in traffic.
I have seen this goal, yeah. It is at pace. Very, very nice. Jonathan Amon is a player worth getting excited about. Zachary Lindquist is scouting Jackson Yule, the 22-year-old American midfielder for San Jose Earthquakes. Yule had a fairly quiet game for San Jose in their 2-1 loss at Columbus. His two key moments were when he was slow to close down a ball that eventually led to a Columbus goal, and a quick turn and pass up the wing to spring the attack for San Jose's goal.
All right. Guy Jedwab's getting...
Thumbs up, thumbs down for Jackson Yule.
A little bit. Guy Jedwab's getting Serge Gnabry, the 22-year-old German wide forward on loan at Hoffenheim from Bayern Munich. Anything to say about Serge Gnabry, Daryl? Okay. I just wanted to know if you were going to, do the Daryl Grove jinx here and sound in. Before Hoffenheim's game at home against Hanover, Gnabry told a reporter that he was still hopeful of making the German World Cup squad. Why would you jinx yourself like that, says Guy. In the first 20 minutes, Gnabry spotted a poor pass from the center back to the goalkeeper, managed at full stretch to intercept it for an assist, and tore his groin, ending his season and making it unlikely he'll be fit in time for the World Cup. He had been averaging a goal or an assist every 89 minutes until that point.
Oh, Serge. Yep. Alec Brew is scouting Davy Selke, the 23-year-old German striker for Hertha Berlin. This past weekend, Hertha were trailing Augsburg 2-0 when Selke was fouled in the box for the penalty that made it 2-1. That's a TSS assist. He then scored the equaliser in the 87th minute. Selke's recent scoring success, 13 this season, has helped push Hertha back into mid-table safety. Meanwhile, John Brooks and Wolfsburg are now in trouble. I saw that. Looking bad.
For those who forgot or don't remember, John Brooks left Hertha Berlin to go to Wolfsburg. Everybody thought that was going to be a good move. Instead, Wolfsburg struggling. Robert Newman scouting Mason Mount, the 19-year-old English midfielder on loan at Vitesse from Chelsea. It was a big week for Mason. He scored and assisted in Vitesse's 5-0 win over FC Twente and also was voted Vitesse's Player of the Year by the fans, which is especially impressive considering he is on loan and didn't start regularly until November. On top of that, Mount was also named to the England U19 squad for their upcoming European Championships.
I didn't know the U19 European Championships were upcoming.
It's all Mason Mount. He's the only player called in.
Also, how are these Vitesse fans not voting for Matt Miazga?
I think goal scorers always win.
That's fair. Jeff Warren is scouting Niklas Dorsch, the 20-year-old German midfielder for Bayern Munich. Dorsch was one of 3 players to make the first-team Bundesliga debuts against Frankfurt on Saturday. Kind of like an Arsenal thing, right, where the kids are playing the weekend. And he made good on the chance by slotting home the opener in a 4-1 win. Dorsch remains out of contract in the summer. Dorsch remained committed to leaving Bayern despite the successful debut, quoted as saying...
Before you read the quote, can I just say that there are some times when a player is like, oh, I think they're probably going to want to move, maybe they're not happy. He's making it pretty clear he wants to move. Go ahead.
So he's out of contract and he's probably leaving, and he said... The state of affairs was that I definitely want to take the next step. I do not know where that is, but in any case, it is not here.
Yeah, so he's moving. Maybe to Schalke.
The Bayern Munich team is so hard to break into.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Ryan Marzak scouting Josh Onoma, the 21-year-old English midfielder on loan at Aston Villa from Tottenham. Happy 21st birthday to the English Modric, says Ryan, and probably Daryl. He celebrated a week early with a man-of-the-match performance against Ipswich. Aston Villa won the match 4-0, and Onoma got 2 assists. He is in the best form he's been in all season, and with Villa squarely in the middle of the championship playoff race, that can only be a good thing for them.
I forgot there's going to be championship playoffs. I genuinely forgot.
It's a charmed life you live over there.
No, because genuinely, normally I'm sort of like, our Wolves going to make it into the championship playoffs. I'm always thinking about them. This year they've been above it, so I haven't thought about it. I forgot Villa still have a chance to go up through that mechanism.
How does Hugh feel about that?
I mean, better than if they couldn't.
There you go.
Right? Yeah. Nick Becker is scouting Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, SMS, the 23-year-old Serbian midfielder for Lazio. Nick says that SMS scored again this weekend with a header in the 56th minute to give Lazio a 1-0 win over Torino.
And finally, Mark Ryan scouting Giovanni Simeone. We talked about it briefly. 22-year-old Argentine striker for Fiorentina. That's Gio Simeone, Diego's son. Hat trick for Simeone as Fiorentina defeated Napoli 3-0. Simeone drew a foul, which led to a red card for Napoli's Koulibaly.
Sure did.
Daryl Grove says unfair. He then
Not unfair,
scored,
just unfortunate, because he nearly got away with it.
He then scored 2 goals by timing a good run to get the ball at full speed and outworking the defender. The middle goal was a rebound off a set piece. This loss for Napoli appears to largely knock them out of the Serie A title run.
Gio's first ever hat trick as well. How about that?
Destroying Neapolitan hearts. I couldn't remember what the term was for people from Naples.
Did you just remember the ice cream style?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you to everybody who sent scouting reports today. We should have an extra interview show publishing early Tuesday morning. Then Taylor and I will be back for is it Real Madrid Bayern first? Mm-hmm. It is, isn't it? Real Madrid Bayern on Tuesday and Roma Liverpool games on Wednesday. Lots of Champions League coming your way this week.
This is true.
Until then, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
You gotta slice it.